If you are stuck spinning your wheels in your online business, it could be these three things that are stopping you. So, running an online side business can be incredibly time consuming, and especially when you're trying to get it growing alongside everything else that you have going on. A lot of the time, you feel like you just need more hours in the day. And the truth is, there's certain habits that are silently eating up all the time you already have. So, in this video, I'm going to share three things that I stopped doing that were stealing time from my online side business and what I focused on instead so I can make more progress without feeling constantly overwhelmed. Let's get into it. So, thing number one was over planning instead of executing. So, I used to plan like absolutely everything. I had content calendars. I would create a lot of designs on Canva that I didn't ever end up using. I was taking, dozens of digital courses online and trying to write out like an entire week's worth of plans and goals. And honestly, I was just doing busy work to make myself feel like I was actually doing something. And the issue with that was it felt productive, but nothing was ever actually getting done because I wasn't implementing things that I learned. So what this looked like was I was taking tons of notes on the courses, but I wasn't actually implementing what I learned. I would plan out an entire week's worth of tasks and do like maybe one or two of them. I would plan an entire 6 months of blog posts, but they were just the titles and ideas, and that was it. I wouldn't actually write them out. So what am I doing different now than I was then? So the answer is I actually am taking action, and the way I do that is instead of planning everything out, I only plan the things that I know that I can get done. So what I might do is I might plan out a few things in my weekly schedule, and I will make sure that they are things that I can actually get done and not get overwhelmed with. So instead of planning out like a full week's worth of thing, I plan out maybe 5 things that I know need to get done, and I kind of prioritize them, and I try to set them up so if I know I have a lot of time one day but not another, I plan a little bit more on maybe say Tuesday instead of Wednesday when I know I'll be unavailable most of the day. So instead of trying to plan every hour's worth of time out, I just kind of prioritize the tasks I know need to get done, and I don't add anything extra that I know that, maybe could get done, but I don't have time for because of the way I prioritize things. So, do I always succeed 100% of the time with this? No, but that's where just prioritizing my tasks has helped quite a bit. And, every week is a new week. New week means new opportunities, new hours available. If I don't get something done, I can reprioritize it based on the next tasks that I have planned and just go from there. It doesn't need to be overly complicated. So some ways that you can take action is that you only take notes on the minimum. So this kind of goes along the line with like learning and digital courses and stuff. So only take the minimum necessary information in that you need, because the rest is just going to be noise. So this is kind of a strategy that I learned recently from a book that I'm reading, which I'll link to in the description if you're interested in it. But this book is called Lean Learning, and if I remember correctly, is by Pat Flynn. And the concept is that you really only want to take note on and learn the minimum necessary information you need to complete a task at the present moment. So you don't need to memorize an entire book and basically plan out years ahead in advance with all that information. Basically, just learn the information you need to know to solve your problems today. And then tomorrow, if you need to go back and reread things and find those other golden nuggets that will help you, then you'll find that later. But for now, today, only focus on the information you need absolutely necessarily. So that's one way to take action. The other way is to block out time for any necessary tasks, for your most necessary tasks. So this is a strategy that a lot of entrepreneurs or honestly content creators make or use to complete the tasks that they have. So something like, let's say I need to write 5 blog posts for the next month or something like that, 4 or 5 blog posts. And I've been putting it off. So what am I going to do? I'm going to set aside, we'll just say 5 hours. We'll set aside 5 hours of time, and we'll do nothing but like write about the blog post. So sorry, I'm kind of got word jumbled there. But just basically setting aside a very specific time, and we'll, schedule out like an hour or two or however long it needs to be. And during that time only, that is all you're going to do. So you're removing all distractions. You're putting your phone in the other room. You are basically shutting the door on everything else and only focusing on the task at hand. And when that time is up, whether or not you're done, you still spent an hour's, whatever time, that much time on that task. So if it gets done, great. If not, then you've spent some time on it. And then the last way that you can take action on this strategy of over planning instead of executing is to give yourself some grace, because you're human, you are not perfect, and really just move on to the next task. If you can go back and if you can set aside time and do that same task again later, like let's say, for me, I've had a hard time putting my laundry away recently. I hate doing laundry. I just feels so time consuming. I can never find the time to do it. And the thing is, if I just write down a specific amount of time to do a specific task, then I'm more likely to do it. And sometimes another little trick that I found that actually helps is to set an alarm on my phone, like an actual alarm. On my phone, I label the alarm. I might even use like a specific ringtone or something for it. Sometimes that has helped me a lot too. And it just kind of reminds me that I need to do this specific thing at this time. So that's another little trick that you can use. So moving on to number 2. So something else that I was doing that stole a lot of time from me was that I was just consuming a lot more content than I created. So I would watch all these videos, read blog posts, save a bunch of pins on Pinterest, whatever it happened to be, like watch YouTube, Instagram posts, whatever, all the things, digital courses even. I would consume a lot more than I created because I wanted to learn all this stuff, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but I was bringing in more than I was putting out. So really, all this did was it just taught me to procrastinate even more, and it just looked like productivity in the wrong outfit, I guess. I wasn't actually being productive. I was just wasting my time. And when I started creating more than I consumed, my business actually started to grow a lot more, which is, so simple. It's not rocket science. It's, obvious. The more you create, the more people are going to see your stuff, the more your business is going to grow. And it really was that simple, but I just was consuming more than I was creating. And so once I did, my content itself became a lot better because I was getting more practice with it. I was seeing what my audience actually liked. People seemed to enjoy my content a lot more, interacting with it more. I was creating content that it just became easier to create content too. So that helped a lot. And then some tips that I took that helped me to consume less was obviously, watch less TV. But when I tangibly stopped watching less TV, I was no longer in the consumption mindset and more of the creative mindset. So when you're in a consumption or consuming mindset, you tend to have a lower attention span. So if you find yourself doom scrolling on Instagram or Facebook, probably see my cat back there. A lot of times your attention span just tends to be a lot lower, and you are, you get bored easily. You're just, scrolling to get more content. You want to see more. I just want to see more. I just want to see more. And it's hard to put your phone down, put it away. But when you are in that consumption mindset, you just feel like you can't get enough stuff, and it lowers your attention span. And so the way I kind of flipped the switch was, force myself to watch less TV, even during breaks. Sometimes I'll like watch like one of my favorite shows when I'm like having a quick lunch or something, or sometimes like if I'm like resting, like if I have planned rest period, I will, still watch something to kind of relax my brain. But instead of consuming TV when I'm not doing anything else, I will try to read more books, because when you read books, it kind of works your brain in a different way, and it helps you to get in that creative mindset. And that helps you actually kind of increase your attention span a little bit too. I found that helps me a lot more. Like just physically reading books helps a lot. I actually have another video of the 5 books that I read in 2025 that I found really helpful and I think everyone should read as a entrepreneur. And also have a whole other list of books that I have planned for 26 here. But I just, reading a lot more, it's kind of helped inspire me a little bit more, get me in that more creative mindset. I just generally stopped doom scrolling as much. So if I find myself just scrolling and watching content on my phone, I will close the app and set my phone out of reach if I can. And just honestly being a little bit more intentional with my time, that has helped a lot too. It's, that seems so simple. Some of these tips seem super simple, but they really are just that simple. Just do it. So, some ways that you can take action as well to help consume less so you can create more is to delete any apps that suck any time away from you or that kind of leave you drained. So even if you use I think a couple exceptions to that is a lot of times as business owners, we use like social media to like promote our content and stuff. That's kind of an exception. But if you find yourself just constantly drained from it, you might delete the app and maybe just use the desktop version as well. I think we're a little bit less likely to doom scroll if we're on desktop versus mobile, because our phones have trained us to, stare at the screens. I think desktops are a little bit different. So any other apps that you have that are just kind of sucking away time from you, definitely do that. Whether it's like a shopping app or anything like that. If it's taking away a lot of your time, see if you can just delete it, especially if it leaves you drained. Start looking for more books if you want to kind of improve yourself or your business. These can be audiobooks too. And again, I do have that video that I will link to as well for some of the top books that I recommend for reading this year to either help you or help improve your business. So a lot of great reads there. So definitely recommend checking out that video. So obviously, reading more books helps a lot. And if you have to like commute or anything, or if you like to walk a lot, or you like to like listen to things while you're working out, whatever happens to be, if you have these long stretches of time and you're not really doing any, if you can multitask, I definitely recommend getting into audiobooks a bit. I used to have to commute quite a bit for my job, and so I would sometimes, when I wasn't listening to podcasts or music, I would listen to audiobooks, and it was kind of a nice break from the other two. And there's actually I think a few different like library apps that you can look into as well that will have access to audiobooks. So even if you don't want to pay for like the physical copy of a book or something, you can definitely look into like those different library apps. Typically, for the most part, like a public library will have access to those for you. So check with your local library, whichever one you might be registered for, and see if they have that available. Talk with them, see if you can set up an account and you can start getting access to audiobooks. Otherwise, Audible is a good option. I can include a link to Audible as well to open up an Audible account. I think you get like 30 days free or something like that. I'll have to double check, but I'll include a link to that as well if you're interested. So you can start kind of building your brain a bit more. And then the last little trick that you can do to take action to consume less and create more is to literally just set your phone out of reach, and even before you get into bed. So whether you're like at your desk working or you're going to bed here, maybe you can, if you use it for your alarm, you can maybe leave it in a drawer, set it in the close nearby room, or just basically out of reach, out of sight, and that way it's not a distraction for you. So that's kind of tip number 2. That's something that took a lot of my time away from my online business. So definitely something that you can do too as well. And then thing number 3 was, a lot of times I would wait until I was ready for something. So I thought I needed to be a little bit more confident. I needed to have more clarity on something, a lot more experience especially, or that I just needed to learn more about something before I started doing it. So it turns out typically you just never feel ready for something. You just have to do it. You have to get started. And progress, no matter what it is, you're never going to feel ready. You just need to start doing, you need to start messy so you can finish clean, I guess, is a good way to put it. So start messy so you can finish clean. Nothing and no one is ever born perfect. Well, nothing is born perfect, because you have to nurture progress. So think about like a business. A business will never start off as a 500 Fortune company or whatever. It's always going to start from the very bottom. It's going to start from 1 or 2 people, and then it has to build up over time. Now, the progression can vary, but nothing is ever born perfect. You have to start somewhere. And this is kind of something that I struggled with. It wasn't so much that I wanted to be perfect when I started. It was just that I felt like I needed to be more ready. I needed to have more confidence. For me, that was a big one because, like a lot of beginners, I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. And this is something that's held me back quite a bit for a lot of things. And I think it's something that I want to encourage you to be mindful of too. If you feel like you're not quite ready, it's probably a matter of imposter syndrome. And a lot of that has to do with your confidence. So just some things that you can do to some things that you can do to take action on that is accept that you just won't ever feel ready, because everyone experiences this. So just knowing that you're not alone. And then the best way to kind of help with that is to reframe the anxiety around that as excitement. So the way you can say this is, instead of saying I'm anxious to launch this product, you can say I'm excited to launch this product. Or I'm anxious to start a YouTube channel, or I'm excited to start a YouTube channel. Reframe things a little bit so that way confidence feels like less of an issue, and that way you have a little bit more clarity around it and you don't feel so much like an imposter, because that is definitely a struggle that so many beginners suffer and struggle with. And that little trick of reframing your anxiety actually as excitement, I actually learned in this book here, the 5-second rule. It's kind of towards the end of the book actually, but very helpful book. This is actually in one of my books that I read in 2025/26. And I'll include a link to that video as well. That includes all of the books that I'm planning on reading this year. Definitely a good book, but I really liked that little trick and tidbit was of reframing anxiety as excitement. Now, I don't really have like a ton of anxiety, but I definitely feel nervous about things. And I guess that can go hand in hand. So instead of I'm nervous to launch this product, I am excited to launch this product. So I keep wanting to say project. But reframing things in a more abundance mindset rather than a like a starving or lackluster mindset can help as well. That's something a lot that I've learned from a couple of my mentors is your mindset makes such a huge difference. And especially as a new business owner, that can hold you back a lot. So instead of waiting until I felt ready, I'm starting to take action more. So my YouTube channel here, I've put out a few videos here and there, but I'm really wanting to start putting out a lot more content, and I want to reach a lot more people. I want to help a lot more people. And something that's kind of held me back was I just didn't really feel like I was ready. I wasn't really confident I could create very good videos. And you know what? This video is going to be super messy compared to my videos a year from now or 2 years from now, or heck, even like a month from now. This video is going to be so much messier than what I want it to be, but I just need to get it out there. And that's something that I encourage you to do too, is don't worry about it feeling messy. Just do it. Just, put your content out there. It's going to be messy. It's better to start messy so you can finish clean. Okay. And then another little metaphor, I think, that can kind of help you here. I love my metaphors, but, you never grow if you don't plant your seeds, and then you still have to water them. So that kind of goes along the lines of you have to nurture something in order for it to get the results you want. So like, let's say this year I've really been excited about starting a garden because my husband and I recently bought a house and we have a backyard that we can work with now. So I'm excited for that. But one of the things is starting a garden is there's a lot of learning involved. Because I've gardened before, but I've never been super successful. But I want to grow a lot more. So I have to actually plant the seeds if I want to harvest in the fall. So this kind of goes with your business. If you want to make a lot of money down the road, you have to plant your seeds today. You have to plant your freebies, your leads, all that. You have to get those started, and then you have to nurture them in order to harvest down the road. So that's a really good metaphor that I think applies here as well as a business owner. And so if your side business or your online business feels like it's just taking all your time, but you're not going anywhere, hopefully these 3 things can help you with that. You're probably doing 1 to 3 of these things, but if you're not, do a self-audit and take action on it. So again, making sure, let me go back to my notes here. So make sure you're not over planning and you're actually executing. So don't take all of your time to plan things out, just do them, prioritize them, and go as you need to. Tip number 2, consume less than you create. And then tip number 3 is just publish or launch before you feel like it's perfect. Okay. So hopefully that helps. So do your self audit, take some action, and then use the tips that I suggested in the video to kind of help you get started. And if you did find these 3 tricks helpful for you, you'll probably also enjoy learning about these 5 common myths about starting a WordPress website, because it kind of similar style of a video. So hopefully you find this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.